I don't think intended to start making a series of these videos today. I just wanted to get that idea of NFTs replacing user accounts in a system. Whatever you'd want to do with the system, I would think that you could use that NFT. And I come to the point, if you've seen any of my other videos, of realizing that um, you can't put much in. Think of like the NFT, the smart contract is like a capsule, right? And you can't put much in there. So what the best use of it is for metadata, and that metadata allows the NFT, the smart contract, and the NFT to enter into our DApp system on IoT, and we've got control from there, I guess would be a way to put it. We can do whatever we want from there. Now, a big area that would have to be addressed is, okay, is it dynamic? Is it two-way then? So you got your metadata, which could just be boilerplate. Let's every time we enter into a relationship in the D app, let's fire up a fresh copy of whatever this metadata configures. And that could be very good in many ways, especially cybersecurity. Um, but I suspect it's kind of like as I've been working on making a machine mind machine, what I call Quad M. Um, when you're doing database stuff, database structure design, the old SQL way, anyhow, I'm still yet to be taught the new way, the non-SQL way, but that seems to be the coming thing. Um, you would look for being able to break the tuples out into tables and into a hierarchy. And the whole idea was that the SQL language would allow you to quickly pick and choose for the particular app task the data set that you'd want. Speaking of data sets, REST, and um, JSON. Unfortunately, these YouTube videos seem to keep wanting to use JavaScript. And for production, that's fine for prototyping and test lab stuff, but for release, for production, JavaScript used to have the problem that if you're using JavaScript in the browser, you can go look at the code, pick it up, copy and paste it, and analyze it from there, or even hijack it. And there are various techniques of obfuscating, kind of making it not easy. But a hacker like me, give me a break. The point is, the problem is at that point you couldn't compile JavaScript. And Java, I guess, is its claim to fame is it uses a meta language. That is to say, it doesn't compile completely. It's kind of a scripting language, but not what the human sees. It's kind of semi-compiled into a metacode that then the rest of the Java, and that was the claim of fame of Java, and probably still is. Um, we can learn from that. Yeah, basically the alien language, code, symbols, patterns, whatever that my Quadam's going to be using will be basically a metacode. hell of a lot of parsing in the system. You got to. Oh, that's one neat thing. That which one was that? Oh, webhook. I guess they didn't bother putting it in the an acronym MACH, but another big part of that technology is what's called webhooks, which is very exciting. Very exciting. I'm very excited about it. That was one of the reasons when I looked at maybe integrating some stuff with Alexa, and it wasn't worth my while. It's just a fancy command shell. And until you got things working with command shells in general, it's just bells and whistles. And they built in design wise some defects for my purpose, and that is, um, well, there's a lot of defects with Alexa for a system integrator, unless you just are trying to have an alternative command shell. Uh, what it does very well. It's just for my Helen project kind of flubs there. Anyhow, webhooks, they're what I'm pretty sure, well, they've had various names over the decades, but in my work, usually it was called a callback function. So webhooks are basically, see, part of the big problem for us systems developers is a lot of the times you're stuck with polling, which is your program, whether it's every 5 seconds, if it's 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, whatever it is, your system polls various APIs to get data, updated data, and the less you want to miss, the quicker you've got to make that. And the problem is that, especially if you're trying to do real time or something, is it really puts a load on the system. You always want to be aware of the loads you put on a system. One of the reasons why I hate Windows and such these days, because yes, we have the supercomputers that back in the 80s we prophesized, but nobody knows what's running on their Windows machine, and it is so, I want to say obfuscated, but I would feel safe saying about Microsoft that very early on they shot themselves in the foot, and with every version of Windows, they've been aiming higher, and I suspect they're somewhere around here now. I know I want very little to do with them. I'm trying to adopt Ubuntu and such. Yeah, it occurred to me I have on my new machine, I have new to me. Uh, I guess it came with Windows 10 or something on it. And it turns out that Windows has an emulator that will run Ubuntu. Yeah. Every year Microsoft has their theme buzzwords. And I think it's either recently been or today or this year is, they're embracing Linux. Uh, if Bill Gates was dead, he'd be rolling over in his grave. So So yeah, I started doing some of my lamp development work on there through using Windows hosting Ubuntu, and was getting somewhere, and starting to brush off my JavaScript to make it functional, start making a functional prototype. But it occurred to me that my machine right here is Windows 11, and yes, sure enough, it's got WSL on it. I don't seem to have the parameters quite ready yet to actually have Ubuntu in a window, or I guess you could call it a hypervisor of a sort. Um, but one of the beauties of virtualization I just love is I have saved my virtual machine, Ubuntu machine, on that physical machine, and I should be able to put that like on a flash drive and bring it over here and load it on this machine, and then load it into WSL. And I will have where I was working on that machine, on this machine, which more and more is becoming a development machine, has yeah, all I need to do is go sit over there, use that computer, but I'm used to using my laptop in my command chair. So I doubt I'm going to stop that anytime soon. So, yeah, time to bounce the video. Am I going to upload these? Maybe if YouTube lets me. That's huge, though. That's, oh my God. And I have 50 years in on observing computing and technical stuff and lifetime innovative entrepreneur. And I'll tell you, 2024 is primed to explode. And what happens for the rest of the decade is going to drive what's going to we're going to be get used to for the next 100 years. You know what the biggest innovation in the 1920s, which I see very similar to this decade? Well, I love the science of composite materials, but plastics. You don't hear people talk about plastics much. I mean, not as an innovation historically, but before 1920, after 1920, we have, for the next, what did I just say? For the next 100 years. What are we trying to do now? Deal with the plastic problem. Anyhow, I gotta bounce this, so I'm going to take a break and maybe I'll start getting. If I start getting these uploaded, you might see them. If not, nobody will ever see them, probably including me.